Welcome back. You got Will and Iman here from the Block Runner Meta Zone, Rovi, and Mscribe, and today we got an NAT update.
The update of
This is
NATs. Yeah, this is pretty much it. This is the last update leading up to the actual show getting started moment for the whole ecosystem, right? So it's pretty exciting. We've been waiting quite a while for this, right?
Yeah, so if this is the first time learning about NATs, you're trying to figure out what the hell NAT is.
All right.
You're trying to figure out what DMT is.
Yeah.
We have a video for you that was posted on November 20th.
Correct.
When we posted it, 7 days later, all 823,000 blocks were minted.
Yeah, and then some people have misunderstood that as like, or interpreted that as some sort of like, this must be like the next bitmap.
Yeah.
Right? Because of the
nature of owning blocks.
Yeah, the distribution mechanism of block ownership.
That's right.
That we've kind of leveraged the same as bitmap, right?
So NAT represents the second block out in history on Bitcoin.
Yeah, but this is not like a direct like new non-arbitrary interpretation of how to like usher in a metaverse standard.
No, definitely
That's
not.
what bitmap represents.
Yeah.
This token is simply the first deployment of a new formalized methodology of how do we extract, or how do we create new value out of non-arbitrary source information that's rooted in Bitcoin's block data.
Specifically, a fungible token.
Yeah, that's the non-arbitrary tokens, right? So digital matter theory, that's an even broader, all-encompassing like principle, like collection of principles that we attempted to kind of get into the heads, plant this seed into like new generation of creators in the Web3 space.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, we've been like in this arbitrary era for the last 15 years or so, ever since Bitcoin was incepted. And if you've been dabbling in this space over the last 15 years, you've become very familiar with that. It's like all these arbitrary token supplies. Like where does Satoshi come up with 21 million?
Yeah, correct.
Just came out of thin air, right? So all we've done is just ushered in this new vertical for digital asset creation, which is again non-arbitrary, and that's it. NAT, the token, the NAT ticker. That's just the first of hopefully many more to come. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what you're looking at here is the video. So like I said, posted November 20th, and 169,000 views.
Damn, son.
So this is a video. If you don't know anything about DMT, definitely read that. But DMT, digital matter theory, the concept of non-arbitrary tokens has an acronym, NAT.
Yeah.
Right? The first ticker using the DMT framework is NAT.
Yeah.
Right? And the second token from this DMT framework is called BMT, bitmap token.
Mm.
And that bitmap token can only be inscribed if you have a bitmap, and it's a child inscription.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you hold a bitmap, you can inscribe a BMT right now.
Mm-hmm.
And after this Jubilee update, you'll be able to trade these tokens on markets that participate in the TAP protocol ecosystem, such as Ordinal's Wallet and Mscribe.
Correct. Yeah, Ordinal's Wallet has come out in full support as they did during the blockout. Right. This is an interesting, I guess, asset to support, a new asset class. So we've been working over the last several weeks to add these new feature enhancements to Mscribe itself because we really want to create like the most optimal user experience for anybody who has any interest in deploying new elements into the future. Yeah, which are the actual pattern. Like that's the methodology we just talked about. How do you discover and officially recognize the existence of a pattern within Bitcoin's block data?
And you mentioned the most perfect statement, right? User experience.
Yeah, the
user experience for a non-arbitrary token is different.
It is different
than traditional tokens.
Yeah, and I think people are going to wonder, because at first, so there's some really important things we need to like specify and clarify, right? What's going to be indexed on the Jubilee, I guess, block moment is one single element out of the potential infinite variety of elements that can exist.
Well, yeah, correct.
I don't know if it's truly infinite.
I wouldn't say infinite, but yes, high amount of elements.
Yeah, at the end of the day, 100 years from now, I don't think our element table or element chart, I think it's going to dwarf our physical element chart.
I think it will.
Yeah. So the point is, are people expecting to like every single element that has been properly I guess, inscribed
Mm-hmm.
under the understood formatting of this NAT document here.
Proper being a
Yeah.
key word.
Correct, because we've seen a lot of improper attempts, which is to be expected.
Yeah.
It's an experiment for a reason. People are tinkering. They're not reading the instruction, the rule set properly. So, yeah, there are invalid inscriptions out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what is going to be there on day one?
So we're assuming that you guys know what DMT is about and NAT is about, because we're going to talk about elements.
Correct.
Right. The first element is called DMT. Right. And I understand why this might be confusing, because there's the overall umbrella of digital matter theory.
Right.
And it produces NATs, which are the acronym non-arbitrary tokens.
Yes.
And we released an element that we gave an arbitrary name called DMT.
Yes.
Right. And that element pointed to a specific block data of Bitcoin, which is called the bits field.
Yeah.
Right. That bits field has a number. Every block has a bits field, and that bits field has a number. That is how many non-arbitrary tokens you have if you minted that block.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first element being supported upon Jubilee is the DMT element, which NAT, the ticker NAT and the ticker BMT is pointing to generate its non-arbitrary supply of tokens.
Mm-hmm. So that is, having said all that, that is not the end all be all of like
Correct.
what can be done in this protocol, right? Because I've been getting a lot of inquiries like, what else? Where's the real utility here, right? And that is ultimately like the grand experiment. We intentionally chose probably one of the least, in my opinion, one of the least interesting like data fields
On
native
purpose.
to Bitcoin's block on purpose, right? Because we wanted to achieve a block out in a sensible amount of time. Never thought it would be 7 days,
Right.
but nonetheless, it needed to kind of like mimic like what we see with your standard arbitrary token deployment protocol, like a BRC20. Somebody sets an arbitrary token limit and an arbitrary amount of limits per mint in these inscriptions and such. And then people find out about it. If there's a lot of interest, it typically mints out within either minutes or hours or days or whatever.
Yeah.
So this non-arbitrary token, this first one, should mimic that same pathway of, I guess, user journey to like, for claiming ownership of these assets. And it did.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
But it introduced like a new vertical that we wanted people to kind of experience. Is like, there's a little bit of like investigation I need to do, because I'm not just simply pushing a button to get my claim, my pre-assigned limit of the supply, right? Every block that I actually have to manually claim ownership of has like a very unique set of information that determines how much of the supply I'm actually going to be allocated.
Correct.
Right? That's the big caveat here, the big differentiator between arbitrary and non-arbitrary,
That's right.
assets. So then we wanted that to be very clear.
Yeah.
But I think just by reading Twitter and such, I don't think it's clear.
Yeah, I mean, the degens, they hear a lot of people talking about NAT, and they're like, how do I mint? It's like, take this JSON structure, just dump it onto Unisat or whatever, pay the fee, and then you got it.
Or click and drag on Ordinal's wallet.
Yeah.
You got like 100 boxes, you're done.
Yeah.
And
that's it. It's like, well, what's the utility? And like
what did I actually do?
Well, how many tokens do I have? And
so, hopefully,
when can I trade this?
Yes. So if you're in that class, because there's 10,000 plus holders of these NAT blocks, and upon this Jubilee release, so we're gonna have Mscribe and Ordinal's wallet support. You're gonna see the actual precise balance, right, of the NAT tokens, dependent on those blocks that you claimed, like a month ago, whenever that happened.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and if not, all you have to do is definitely follow our Twitter, join our Discord, and watch this channel, because we're going to continually talk about this stuff into the future. As the ecosystem continues to grow and expand, we're going to have to, keep our finger on that pulse no matter what.
All right, so let's kind of go through like the user experience that we were talking about. So you would arrive to Mscribe, and this is what you would see, right? And a lot of the data here, I mean, this is your bitmap. But upon this update, you're going to be able to see these like tabs here: Element, NAT, and Inscribe. So Elements, this is where a lot of the action starts, right? The elements is the inscription that points to a specific data field on Bitcoin's block data.
Yeah.
Right? It is the framework where you can discover a pattern on Bitcoin's block data and you can name that pattern anything that you want. It's like discovering a star in the sky and you being allowed to name that star anything that you want. And so we discovered the DMT element, and it points to the bits field, and here it is. Right? So a lot of this data will get populated as we see transactions going through and volume being generated, but you have the first element here, it's DMT. Imagine this being populated with several elements discovered by the community.
Yeah.
This will be indexed by Trac protocol, Benny, and
Correct.
he's going to supply us with additional fully compliant elements. And this list will be populated in real time.
Yes.
So what can you do with this list? You can click on an element and you'll be able to see how many total holders, right? You'll be able to see the actual ticker, all the tickers that are using the element to generate their non-arbitrary supply.
So I'm kind of assuming that the on this inscription tab allows new deployers to kind of, point to this already recognized DMT inscription, this DMT element,
right?
And basically deploy their own tickers, right? Now we can have, I don't know, let's think of another one.
Well,
cat.
BMT is one.
Yeah, that's one. But there maybe cat token, a PayPay. Can you have PayPay?
You can have
well, I think you can
four
have
character.
Right?
No, you can't.
So PayPays, maybe.
PayPays, yeah.
Or NAT PayPay.
Yeah.
Whatever you want your ticker to be. I'm assuming we're going to see this page specifically start to populate for under the elements tab for DMT, right? Because on day one, that is the only element that is officially recognized by Trac, right?
That's correct.
But yeah, over time, we're going to have more support for new pattern recognition. And yeah, each new pattern is going to populate this list, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can see here, there's going to be a market cap section. There's going to be the available supply. This supply would actually reflect how many NATs in the bits field is.
How many what?
How many NATs in the bits field is, right? So there's roughly 330 trillion NATs.
Okay, I
right?
see.
This is a non-arbitrary supply of NATs, by the way, right? And that available supply would be here. So it shows only the mints, but it'll eventually show how many actual of the fungible token exist.
Okay.
And then the circulating supply, that is all the tokens that have been actually owned by people.
Okay.
Right. So these, because this has been blocked out and people are continuously owning the new blocks, these will be roughly the same.
Yeah, that needs to be another clarity point. A lot of people weren't aware that there's a continual increase in this supply. There's no definitive cap. We've heard some bit informaticists come up with they recognized some patterns, they discovered some new patterns that where you can devise a non-arbitrary token that does have a non-arbitrary cap to a supply.
That's right. Right.
Now that hasn't been deployed yet, but the fact that even exists is already tremendously valuable.
Yeah.
And super cool. Right. So, but in this case, specifically for the NAT token, it is a continuation of what we see with Bitmap, right? It's just as more blocks are introduced, more supply of the NAT token, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah. So in case you didn't know,
why is that a big deal? Because there isn't a fungible token on Bitcoin that has an inflationary component to it until now, and now it's not arbitrarily inflationary. It is not arbitrarily inflation.
Inflation.
Yeah. Inflating.
Yeah.
Right. And so and that's the big innovation here is none of these things were decided by humans. It's just block data.
Yeah, and I think that's an inception point to some people are identifying as a BlockFi, potentially. Tomlinson, and I've seen a couple other people that you can notice these almost these embedded usable functionalities within some of these NAT schemes that you could leverage for different ecosystem purposes, right? If you need some sort of inflationary component to your game design, I don't know, some sort of mineral or resource that exists within your game, now you can create a non-arbitrary token that is rooted and very embedded as part of your game economy, right?
Yeah.
And without the need of some sort of smart contract layer.
Yeah.
Right? This is all just leveraging the data field and the rate of introduction that you can kind of architect by picking different patterns, right? If you want like a very high inflation rate, then you find a pattern that more commonly occurs in these blocks. If you want something that's much more negligible, and doesn't have too much, that way you can create your own levers in your own economic models, right? It's interesting. Right. You can experiment with this in so many different ways.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah, and so at the very end, we have a minted percent bar, right? As we've come to like expect with any token that gets generated, there's like a bar that shows you how much percentage has been minted, right?
Yeah.
So assume like just imagine that we're kind of zooming into this bar, right? And so you zoom in and like you can actually inscribe these blocks, right? You can't inscribe NAT because it's blocked out, but this is just an example. You can select these blocks, you can inscribe them, and then you can own these blocks, right? So any new excuse me, any new like token that is pointing to the DMT element, they would have this sort of this grid where anyone will be able to actually mint these tokens.
Yeah.
And so officially, like this is going to be available upon Jubilee update.
Yeah, so I guess one of the big experiments here is there's the ability to deploy a new non-arbitrary token will be available.
Yeah.
On day one, but yes, we are limited to the scope of the DMT element as of right now until there's more officially recognized and supported elements by Trac.
Yeah.
Right? So for now, will people deploy new NATs that are pointing to DMT just like the first two tokens do? Mm-hmm. And will they block out?
Yeah.
That's going to be a huge, will it happen? Will it not?
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, hopefully it does. Hopefully it does reoccur because we're talking about more than 800,000 inscriptions.
That's right.
So, yeah. Good luck, lads.
Yeah.
Good luck, deployers. If anybody comes up with like an interesting meme or whatever,
right? We'll
see. You know?
Yeah, and so we'll see. So eventually, once all the elements get supported by indexer, like Benny, you'll be able to select elements that have a smaller supply than 825,000, whatever it is.
Yeah, maybe it's 10,000.
Could be, yeah.
10,000.
And so a blockout would mean that if someone mints that element or that particular NAT 10,000 times, you would have a blockout at 10,000.
Correct. So that is the flexibility of this, right? We're not pigeonholed to just every single token mint has to be however many blocks exist.
Right.
It's really however many patterns exist within a block.
Right.
Which could be, this pattern could occur once every 100,000 blocks.
That's correct.
There's only 8 roughly of these tokens. So obviously not the most ideal if you're trying to onboard like a large community to this token mechanism, but still you could do that and see what comes from it, you know?
Yeah. So then the next question is, well, how do you actually list this stuff? It's like, so you would go to your minescriptions on the top right, and you'll be taken to this page that looks like this. There'll be 2 buttons here. There's like all button and then the NAT buttons, and then you'll have a button here for list for sale. And so once you click on that, it'll look like this, and you'll be able to actually list that particular NAT on the market, and all the market stuff that you're used to using, like filters and all that stuff that you're used to using, it's all here. And you can list your NAT here.
Okay, right on. All right, so this is going to be exciting to see. And like we said, definitely join the Mscribe Discord if you're going to participate in this ecosystem. We're typically there 24/7.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, without a doubt, we'll be there to assist along the way.
And then, so how does this relate to BMT? So on, let me see if I can show you here. There's going to be a new tab here called NAT, right at the top right. And
so
you'll be able to.
This is a bitmap, in case you didn't know. This is Mscribe was born from the bitmap ecosystem, right? As like a parcel inscription platform, and it still is.
And bitmap is a non-arbitrary token.
Yes.
And Mscribe is like focused on non-arbitrary stuff.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
And so there's going to be an NAT tab here, which represents non-arbitrary tokens. And what this tab represents, it's going to be a list of tokens associated with your bitmap. So the community can generate tokens for all bitmap holders, right? Anybody can generate these. And you'll see a list of non-arbitrary tokens that you can inscribe as a bitmap owner, right? You can choose to inscribe some, all, or nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So it's totally up to you. But the whole point is that these tokens are non-arbitrary. They come from the data of your bitmap, and you can use this interface to quickly inscribe all of them or none of them, right? And you can inscribe them in bulk. That's the whole point of the Jubilee update.
Yeah.
Right? And so finally, it's you'll be able to have an interface to easily do that.
Inscribe them in bulk means you just pay one fee?
Well, it's one fee, but it's multiple transaction outputs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So and what happens is this bitmap becomes the parent, and which is the collection, and it is producing children, which are the non-arbitrary tokens generated by the community.
Correct.
And there isn't some central party kind of designing and holding tokens and like doing an airdrop and claim process, none of that. It's just, you could use Mscribe, you can use whatever website that supports like the structure, and then you have your non-arbitrary tokens.
Wow. So we should see BMT on everybody's bitmap on day one, right?
That's correct.
That's like, this is going to be the first,
yeah,
what we're labeling as like a bitmap native commodity, essentially. Like this is a digital asset that innately exists in everybody's bitmap.
That's right.
But it has to be like formally recognized through this this protocol standard, whatever you want to label it as, in order for it to be extracted from the bitmap itself.
Yeah, and here's what's cool is that this can't be defeated by bots. It can't be gained by miners. It is your token, and because you hold the bitmap, it is you're going to get your token, right? And so it's kind of like a natural consequence of using the parent-child infrastructure.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty big deal. And yeah, we've been seeing we're going to put out like a lot more of our ideas into this ecosystem space. Like how do we program, in a sense, like new utility use cases through leveraging NATs and things like you're describing, parent-child, bulk inscriptions and such. There's a lot of new like mechanisms we can introduce down the line, right? And we've actually received some ideas from the community, people who are eagerly awaiting, the ability to deploy new elements because they have their own, new utility schemes that for their NAT tokens that they want to deploy.
That's right. That's right.
So that's going to be like what's coming up next after Jubilee, after NAT trading and whatever manifests from there. It's like, okay, onboarding new elements and new deployers and new interesting like experiments, like where is this ecosystem going to go?
Yeah.
How is it going to be utilized into the future? How ingrained will this become in the bitmap economy? Stuff like that. Yeah. Like that's the wait and see moment, right?
Yeah. So exciting stuff. A lot of work that we've been working on just to kind of support this Jubilee update. And I know a lot of people have been waiting for the NAT trading, but finally it's happening.
Yeah. Big shout out to Benny.
Yeah.
Trac, the TAP ecosystem. We made a video yesterday about how Benny's just been like nothing but net on his like predictions and his assessment of like the overall ordinal space, like the impending dilemmas and stuff.
That's right.
Benny's got his finger on the pulse, right? So we kind of got lucky in the sense that we are so able to so closely work with him, his team, and making sure like everything is going to be supported in the right way. Right?
That's right.
That gives me a lot more confidence now. Like the rest of the space is trying to kind of like catching up to the.
That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, the rest of the space is realizing what Benny realized like months ago.
That's right.
And has been working to support and like properly index ahead of time. And because of that, NATs are chilling.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they're built on tap, right?
All right, guys. Well, that's it for us. If there's any questions, let us know in the comment section below. And all the links will be in the description as well. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.